People's response to changes. Even though we often hear the words, "I like changes," the fact is that we seldom like changes we haven't initiated ourselves. Most people like changes when chosen by themselves, and even more if they have been creating or co-creating the changes and have taken the decisions to make the changes happen. Unfortunately, most changes we meet in our working life are not chosen by us. Most often the changes are caused by outside circumstances like organizational changes, mergers and acquisitions, cost-cutting, changes in management culture, top-down decisions for changes to working methods, changes in the team's composition, or new customer demands. Unexpected changes with no possibility to influence are seldom welcome. However, we're supposed to like changes, and it is a part of many a job ad. Companies love to brag about their ability to be innovative and adjust to changes, even though people are not that happy about changes when it comes down to reality. There are two very important words if you want to make an effort to get people engaged in changes: storytelling and involvement. Tell an appealing story to make people understand why the change is a good thing, and involve people in finding out how the change can become reality. To get an even better understanding of this, take a look at this 4-room apartment that was created by Claus Jansen. The apartment is a picture of how people deal with changes, moving from one room to the other. In any change, all people go through all 4 quadrants, starting in the contentment room and moving counterclockwise through the denial room, the confusion room, ending up in the renewal room. Once we have adapted to the change, we go back to the contentment room and have taken the new changes into the way we work. Some changes can take seconds to adapt to, and some can take years. The speed in which people adjust to changes differs from person to person and from situation to situation. Buying new calculators for the office is not as big a change as outsourcing parts of the company's tasks. The contentment room is where a person is satisfied with how things are being done and seeks only minor continuous improvements. The person is calm and in control. When an unwanted change occurs, the thoughts are, for instance, "There's no need for change. I'm doing the right things already. If I wait a bit, it will probably pass." If the organizational need for change continues, the person starts feeling the pressure and moves into the denial room as a defense mechanism. It is difficult now to stay focused on the daily task because of this disturbance, and different feelings of frustration and anger can occur. Expressions of feelings that seem less constructive can occur. It is a time of fear of losing something important. If others in the team starts to be a bit more optimistic and moving into the confusion room or the renewal room, it can feel like being betrayed and alone. And also a time where you start listening to people around you. You start wanting to respond to prevent others from thinking that you are less intelligent, stubborn, or not wanting the best for the company. Some of the thoughts in this phase can be, "They cannot mean me. I'm not looking for a change. It must be the headquarters' new idea, and they do not know the real world. It is impossible and the system will collapse. How can they ask us to do that? I'm furious, and I cannot understand why the others agree to do it." If the organizational pressure for change is continuing, the person will move into the confusion room and start to look for ways to incorporate the change in daily work. It is confusion since you have one leg in the old world and one leg in the new world. What you knew is now gone, and you don't have the full picture of what to do in the future and whether or not you will be satisfied with the new. The question is how you can build a bridge between old and new, and what are you going to do with the old stuff that is half finished. Little by little the picture becomes clearer and things get easier to prioritize. Some of the thoughts in this phase can be, "What am I going to do now? Someone will find out that I'm not skilled at this. I feel I'm not in control. I can see possibilities, but how do I get started?" The clearer the picture gets, the faster you move into the renewal room. Now it is time to be optimistic and look forward to see the full benefit of the change. You can see that the change matters and that you're making a personal difference to the company. It is time to fully incorporate the change into daily operations. You start to involve yourself into making this change even better. Some of the thoughts in this phase can be, "This is great and I like it." I can see new opportunities for me. I will be a success. How can we structure this in our daily work? I know a way for this to be even better. Once the change is incorporated in daily operations, you end up in the contentment room again, being satisfied with what you do. The speed in which you embrace a certain change is dependent on who you are, what preferences you have when it comes to dealing with tasks and people, and what the change is all about. Let's say that a person is normally very talkative and is driven by having different relationships. The organization changes, so the team in which this person is an employee suddenly has to stop working with administrative tasks and dedicate all their time to talk to customers by phone. This person will most probably embrace the change and in seconds move to the renewal room to start figuring out how to work with a new task. Let's say then that a team is known for delivering perfect solutions and never making a mistake, and one of the employees are very proud to be known for that. The company needs to reduce cost and ask the team to deliver 80% quality. This person will most probably try to avoid the change and stay in the contentment room for a long time. You as a manager play an important role to support people moving from contentment to renewal. First of all, it can be very beneficial to reflect upon how long time the upper management levels have been working with this change and getting used to the change before it reaches the employees. It is most common that the management levels work for a long time with the change and have the full understanding of why this change is necessary, what the benefits are, and to some extent what has to be done. Once the change hits the employees, the management levels tend to think that it is equally obvious to the employees why this change is important and what to do. Expectations are also that the employee quickly figure out how to do and quickly incorporate the changes in daily operations. This is where it often goes wrong. People want to be co-creators of their work and need time to find the best way to incorporate the new changes. Expect people to be the experts in what they do, and that once they are in the renewal room, they are the ones who know best how to incorporate a change. Changes take time. It is about changing our habits and behavior to new and better ones, and it can take months to do even with full focus and training. The manager's job is to set direction and help people to succeed. In this responsibility lies the storytelling about the change and holding on to that the change will stay. At the same time, the job is to meet the employees in the different rooms in the apartment and support people to move from one room to the other. The employee's job is to, in time, accept the change and find the best way to incorporate the change in daily operations. Each of the 4 rooms calls for something different from the manager. Even though you are going through the same stages as the employees, your responsibility is to meet everyone in the room they're in. Hopefully you have had a head start knowing about the changes earlier than the employees, and hopefully your manager is there to support you to go through the 4 rooms in the apartment. Support in contentment room. If changes haven't occurred, this is where the manager focuses on continuous improvements in daily operations. Performance management meetings is a good tool to do just that. You will find that tool if you enter the leadership path, lead and manage performance. Once a change occurs, the manager's tool is storytelling. Tell the great story about why this change is necessary, what the benefits for the customers are, and what is in it for the team. It is also time to invite people in to be involved in how the changes can become reality. Ask questions like, now that this has been decided, how do you want to get involved in creating your future workplace? Now that people outside this team means that this change will affect us, how can we best dig into the details to get to know the exact effect? Support in denial room. Being in the denial room is not necessarily a bad thing, even though some of the responses from the employees seem unreasonable. Think of the responses as signs of people caring about the company and their work and people taking firm responsibility for things to be done in the right way. So stay calm and communicate. The manager can easily get a need of trying to force things through, hiding behind the manager's right to make decisions, or to leave the team alone to avoid conflicts. A better way is to be present, listen to the arguments, and embrace that people feel responsible. Hold on to that the change is here to stay, and ask questions that reveals what the resistance is all about. Help the team to convince each other and ask questions like, if this change should ever come to work in our team, What should happen to make that possible? Now that this change is here to stay, what is the most important for us to deal with first? Which strengths do we have in this team that will help us meet this change in a good way? Which personal strengths do you have that will help you to investigate in what the benefits could be? Support in the confusion room. This is the time where the manager has to help people sort things out. What is up and what is down? What is true and what are rumors? What is in focus and what isn't? What to continue doing and what to leave behind? People need direction and also to know that things are progressing in a good way. Share successes, celebrate them, and let people come up with new ideas for how to move forward. Ask questions like, what successes have you had so far with this new approach? What did you personally do to make that happen? What are the uncertainties that you want to discuss today? How can we best prioritize our task going forward? What obstacles have you had and how have you dealt with them? What has been easy and what has been difficult? What are our next steps? Support in the renewal room. Now it is time to bring it home. The change is not yet incorporated into daily operations and structure is needed. If the team is working with standard operating procedures describing how to do each task, then the structure is given by rewriting it. A concrete action plan with steps describing how the change will be incorporated in daily operations is also a good solution. Be sure that people are committed to it by letting the employees design it themselves, and be sure to invite the employees into the work who were absent when the action plan was made. Follow up on the action plan until implementation of the change is done. It is tempting to leave the team or the individual alone now to attend to other changes. Stay focused with the individual and the team until you are sure that people enter the contentment room, including the new way of working. Ask questions like, how far are we with implementing the change? What are the final steps we have to take to bring it home? When is our deadline for finalizing this change? How do you want to celebrate our achievements once we get there? Ambassadors. Use the employees who are successful with a new change to tell stories to the others about past successes and their expectations for success in the future. Let them show their enthusiasm and tell in details what they have done. Enthusiasm can be very contagious and can even infect you. Let their beliefs be stronger than your own and give them recognition and appreciation for their achievements and also for having taught you something new and exciting. Changes often come in a steady flow. Changes do not always come alone, and sometimes too many changes at the same time and not knowing when there is an end to it can frustrate a team so much that they enter a state of apathy. They work as good soldiers and do their best to meet expectations, but they do not feel appreciated at all. No celebration and no appreciation for all that has been done. Any change implemented just brings a new one on. The team can easily lose the overview and the connection to a why all of this is important. Take your time to acknowledge people's efforts and show the bigger picture of it all. What starts and what ends and why. Keep track of which room people are in with which change. One person can be in one room with one change and in another with a different change. This includes you. Ask yourself what kind of support you need to move further with the different changes you are in the midst of. Find out what each employee needs to move forward with the different changes they are in. Use all the competences and insights you have from all the team members. Person A can tell a success story to person B to one change, and person B can tell a success story to person A in another change. Let people mix and help each other and take the role as game master who knows exactly what room everyone is in at any given time with any given change. Different profiles respond differently to changes. If you follow the leadership path Lead and Manage People, you will find 4 profiles with each their characteristics. The hunter and the conqueror are often more quick on foot to adapt changes. 3 reasons are the most common. They have found a way to be involved in the decisions by being speaking partners for decision makers. They find a way to bend the decisions to their advantage. They are not concerned much about how this change is supposed to happen in reality. The nurse and the scientist are often more reluctant to be impressed by a new change. 3 reasons are the most common. They need a concrete, stepwise plan for how this change can be implemented in daily work. They need time to interlink the old with the new and find a new structure. They want to prevent mistakes being made. The nurse is occupied with how the change feels and can ask questions like, what does this mean for me? What does it mean for my colleagues? Who will be affected by what? Why does it have to be this fast? Why haven't we been notified long ago? Where will I be seated from now on? Who will be my closest colleagues? Which task will remain for me? The questions are often an inner dialogue and not out in the open, so the coach needs to ask questions like, how does this change feel for you? Which opportunities do you see? What do you need to know or do now? Take the dialogue as a one-to-one conversation. For the scientist, everything lies in the details, and that is seldom in place when a new change is introduced. Questions like these are common. How does this change fit into our standard operating procedure? What can we count on applies now? When do we get time to discover what this really means to us? Why is this change not thought through before decisions are taken? Why didn't they ask me? The scientist is not always that open about the concerns either. The frustration is often tied to a fear of making mistakes or losing perfection, and the response to changes are often to ask for concrete facts and to question the decisions. It can be quite disturbing for the manager, who is more focused on the overall change instead of details. It just doesn't change the employee's need for security. Ask questions like, now that you know that the decision has been taken, which areas of concern do you think is most important to look into for this change to be successfully implemented? What should we especially be aware of? If you know now that I as a manager will take the full responsibility for the risks you have pointed at, how will you start implementing the change? Which opportunities do you see for yourself and the company, given that the change turns out to be a success against all odds? Take the dialogue as a one-to-one conversation. The hunter will for a short while get a bit irritated by the change because of lost opportunities to score some goals according to how things used to be. However, the hunter will at the same time look for what will bring him or her quick results and success in the new world. If this is not very obvious, the employee will soon enter a loud discussion to clear things out, and if the hunter cannot see a quick way to success, he or she will resist the change. Ask questions like, how do you see that we can get quick results by implementing this change? What will this change mean to your results on short and long term? What obstacles should we be aware of? Which conditions have to be in place to ensure the best possible change of success? What will it mean for you to be even more successful? The conqueror needs to see the bigger picture of it all and can sometimes be irritated if he or she has not had the chance to influence the change. If the change is not seen as a contribution to reach a personal vision that the conqueror is committed to, the change is not welcome. The conqueror will then try very hard to bend the change and to be involved in creating the future way of working to fit better into his or her own vision. Ask questions like, how do you see this change fit into the bigger picture of what we do? With the decision that has now been taken, how do we get it to fit in? Which areas of the change do you believe we should work harder on to get the full benefit of the change? Given that we are successful in this change, where are we then heading? Which amazing situation do you picture us in once this is implemented in a good way? What will be the most fantastic part? The 4 profiles each represent some very important yet different competences for the change to happen in a good way. By asking all the employees questions, you get all competences into play as a support to the change. If you do not interact with curiosity and an open mind, the risk is to get opponents who will maybe even enjoy the drama and the defeat. Respect the feelings involved and the fact that the employees feel responsible and competent in what they do. Meet the employee with respect and curiosity, and if you are confused about what the employee is thinking, then ask a question like, now that you know about the change, what are you thinking? That question is powerful for all 4 profiles.